So, Dave, we just watched the Oscars. They literally ended 5 minutes ago. We want to give the town, because we know they're waiting in anticipation, our first thoughts, our initial reactions, our raw feelings. So, what do you got overall, Dave, as far as how you feel about this year's Oscars?
I will say, as high as I was on the year of movies, I think I'm a
Mhm.
little down on the Oscar show, believe it or not. I
Whoa.
I think as excited as Max and I have been for the whole year of 2025 movies, I don't know if the Oscars did it justice enough.
Um,
With some exceptions. Max, what
okay,
about you? What did
that's
you think of this
that.
year's
I
Oscar?
had a much different reaction. I came into it. I thought it started an hour later than it did, so I came in a little late. Um, and so I was kind of huffing and puffing. I rode my bike and I was just trying to get there in time to make sure I could see as much as possible. I didn't really miss a whole lot, but I thought it was a pretty emotional night at times. I thought there were some big emotional moments and a lot of technical issues.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that
Were
too.
you, was it just me or were they having trouble with the mics in the show this year?
They were having trouble with the mics. Conan a couple times was caught being live, not realizing he was live.
Yes.
There were some less than perfect live moments for sure, for sure.
I mean, that the latter I don't mind so much. That was kind of fun. Yeah. So let's go. Okay. Highlights, Dave. What are some of the big picture moments for you?
Sure, I will jump all around. I think I'll go with maybe the most obvious highlight and surprise was Autumn Arkapaw winning for best cinematography for
Yeah.
Sinners, which was some people had a sneaking suspicion that she was going to make a run at it, but there was nothing in the previous awards season that predicted her to win. Most people had predicted One Battle to win best cinematography, but she ran a really smart campaign, and of course her cinematography was beautiful and incredible, and she was the first female cinematographer to ever win the award. And she
Yeah.
gave a
Here's my
great
hot take on that, Dave. Also, the best dressed at the Oscars.
She looked fantastic. She looked
She's just a
fantastic.
cool. She looked fucking cool, dude. It's like,
Yeah, and
is that a suit? Is it a dress? What's going on with the jewelry there? Oh, your hair looks great. It's like shit. Like no
really
reason to
incredible.
try
She gave a nod to other, to other black women, specifically in the field of below the line crew work, and gave them nods, and had every woman in the auditorium in the theater stand, which was a really cool moment. So that I think was both surprising and really like rewarding, and one of those, this is why you watch the Oscars moment for
Yeah.
sure.
I wrote down, and this is kind of goes with what I've been responding to so positively about the entire Sinners Awards. I don't know if you'd call it even a campaign. And this was true with Kugler and with Jordan, but the joy that you can find in gratitude was so like just like kind of beaming off of her to the point where like I was feeling it. And I was like, I'm getting joy off of your gratitude, and I'm getting joy off of the entire gratitude of everybody involved with Sinners, that they got to make the movie, that they got to tell the story that they wanted to tell, that they got to spend so much money on it, and that they were being recognized for their historic work. One of the highlights of the night for sure for me as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Sinners overall had a pretty good night. I guess like we're not going to go through all the reward, like all the awards here. You can just easily Google that, but I do think it was something that we had predicted, where a lot of the love was sent to both Sinners and One Battle After Another, and it
Yeah.
felt ultimately, just, I haven't even tallied it all up yet, but it did feel like both movies got their own amount of love in their own way, which I thought was really cool. Especially if you listen to this pod and Max and I talk, they really were the crown jewels for us for 2025, and it feels like in their own way, the Oscars found a way to reward them, with Autumn
Totally.
being one of the cooler ones.
Yeah.
Max,
I
what about
wrote I
you?
wrote well, I wrote A Very Just Tonight to like piggyback on what you're saying. A lot of people said it tonight, including PTA, when he won director and best picture, was like there's not really a best, but we're very happy to share this with the people that we get to share this with and our fellow nominees. The Academy voters did a great job showing a lot of love to, I think, the best movies of the year, including in the nomination process. But I would say, you know what, like just a general highlight for me, I thought the Conan sketches were superb. I laughed a lot.
Yeah.
The Casablanca one in particular fucking killed me, man. It killed me. It was such a stab in the heart of the Netflix production and just really exemplifying like how stupid it is to have characters remind you what you're watching because you're on your phone. Not why movies are made. That's not why we're here. That's not why we watch movies. I thought the final sketch to end the night, putting Mr. Beast's name up as Oscar host for life, was just very, very funny and self-deprecating. And he does such a good job of not taking himself seriously, which is like always the complaint that people levy against award shows, is how self-gratifying they are and how self-serious they are. So having Conan, we're 2 years in a row now, like he really is, he's a fucking fantastic host.
Yeah, he's a pretty sure hand, but he still has like the manic sensibilities that I think can play on both sides of it, which is really, really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just crazy enough,
Yeah.
like another
What
big
else?
highlight I would say was the Rob Reiner in memoriam. I thought overall the in memoriam was a little uneven. I also have one of my lowlights there, but the way that Billy Crystal talked about Rob Reiner, and then we had all of those performers from a lot of his past movies coming up there and standing on stage for him, and just kind of discussing the run of movies he had in the 80s and early 90s, and the impact that he had. I thought that was really, really well done.
I agree. I agree. And just laying out what has been done in articles, closer to his passing a couple of weeks and months ago. Just the string of movies that he's did, especially in the mid '80s to early '90s, very impactful for me, at least growing up. But then you see those posters behind Billy Crystal, and you realize
Yeah.
those were all done by Rob Reiner, and I think almost all in succession from This Is Spinal Tap all the way to A Few Good Men. That run, including when Harry Met Sally, Princess Bride, all that stuff's pretty impressive. I'll just go over into the low light right after, because it does feel
Okay.
tied to Max, which is like, yes, every year we tend to lose, some great artists, but this year definitely felt like we lost some really big voices. This one was
Mhm.
closed out by an in memoriam honor to Robert Redford, and it was done by Barbara Streisand, and they were famously in a movie, The Way We Were Together. I thought it was really weird, and Babs was maybe not totally locked in, or I don't know what,
Bro.
but it did not hit. I don't know what it is, and no disrespect to
Well,
Babs, but
she told this long meandering story about how he used to call her Babs, and we were like, we all call you that. Everybody's called you that for a long time. It's not like a unique, that doesn't feel like uniquely Redford.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
didn't, for such a great honor to Reiner. I don't know. I hope that's not the only Redford nod that we get to do, because he had a great such a great impact on movie culture, and
yeah.
I don't know if Babs was had the wherewithal to really give it its due.
Well, I'm wondering if she had too much wherewithal, where they had something very simple laid out for her, and she was like, "I'm Barbara Streisand," and just walked up there and did her own thing, and then started singing, and we were like, "Oh, it sounds like you have pneumonia. Are you okay?"
It was not the greatest, not the greatest, but
No.
I digress. Max, all right, you got how about a highlight? I got my big theme, my big thematic highlight for me
Yeah,
was
give me that one. Yeah.
on our last episode. I found myself defending Marty Supreme, and specifically Timothy Chalamet. A lot has happened since we recorded that. I don't know what we're calling it. Are we calling it Opera Gate, where Timothy essentially is canceled for digging on ballet and opera in an
Yeah.
like a anecdotal story with Matthew McConaughey? Anyway, it would
Was that
definitely
at
wasn't.
sorry to stop you. Was
Yeah,
that at a pro AI event? Does McConaughey, wasn't it like McConaughey is like getting behind some sort of new AI situation, and they're like, you got to
Matthew,
look forward to the future, man. And yeah, that which is why Chalamet
I
shit
don't
on ballet.
it was CNN hosted a kind of a town hall between Matthew and Timothy, and the sound bites out of that were all kinds of crazy. One of which was Matthew just essentially saying like, I'm pro AI almost, but it really ran, all the sound bites ran the gamut from AI to the future of Hollywood. And most of the sound bites that were pulled were Matthew oriented, and yet there was one that Timothy said something about ballet and opera being more of a niche art form now than a mainstream art form. And
Well, he said that they were a dying art form, which is a bold fucking statement to make when you're in a declining movie business, not necessarily a dying one, but a declining one. And you're talking
I
about like you want to be involved in what's like the future and what's got a lot of momentum and stuff, which, like you've talked about is social media a lot, but like, come on, man. Like, what
I
can
mean,
we
I
talk about?
think that's what we're debating in the context of movies and the theatrical experience, on the decline, which is something, Max, this podcast is almost, principally founded upon trying to defend. I
Yes.
think Timothy was trying to make a case for wanting movies to stay as a mainstream media and referred to those other two art forms as dying and not wanting theater going to go that route. I think it was poorly worded. I think his publicist flubbed. I think he flubbed, and it was a real misstep at a poorly timed moment where Oscar voters were voting. And ultimately, I think in our conversations, I do admire both his role as Marty Supreme and his efforts to just unabashedly like go for something. And the result
Mm-hmm.
we saw, Max, just a couple minutes ago is he did not win Best Actor. It went to
No, he
Michael
did
B.
not.
Jordan.
Went to my
And
man, Michael B. Jordan. Hell yeah! Oh,
and
I'm
I
so
want
jazzed
yeah
about that one.
yeah no and so me too. Timmy so clearly wanted that Oscar. And I think we all saw from his campaign really was going for it and unabashedly going for it. I think what we ended up seeing in both PTA winning a bunch of awards, Ryan Coogler winning a bunch of awards, Michael B. Jordan winning a bunch of awards is that men with grace won the awards and still
Yeah,
showed in their speeches that they really wanted it, that they meant a
yeah,
lot to them. But they did it in a manner of grace that I think most would look back on Timothy's run and say, I don't know if he has that either maturity or poise. But man, when Michael B was up there after he accepted the award, he showed every facet of grace, of leading manness, of maturity, of excitement, of honor, of responsibility. And I think you could say the same for when Coogler won adapted screenplay,
yeah,
when Autumn won cinematography, when PTA won for his own writing directing, and there was still some responsibility to it. But hell yeah, they were all excited and really honored by it, and
yeah,
that I thought was a really cool moment.
yeah, yeah. I mean, when Autumn won, Ryan Coogler ran up the seats to grab Autumn's kid to bring her child closer to see her mom, and I was like, that to me says like everything about the Sinners, like the community that movie created. And you didn't really see that in the way that the Marty, I mean, Marty Supreme had a lot of nominations and a lot of them that it deserved. I thought it deserved production design
Yep.
over Frankenstein, personally. Like, I don't think it should have walked away empty handed, even though like I really did not enjoy watching the movie, but it was extremely well made. Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, man. There's a lot to say for having some grace and humility, and considering that, in our wider culture now, that's absolutely not the case for a lot of things. It is very, I think maybe what I was feeling so emotional watching it was that grace and humility were rewarded, and it was just nice to see that overall.
I agree, man. I agree. And then I think talking about the two kind of crown jewels of this year, I think to your point, though I love both movies, I think in this award show you really saw, as much as I love One Battle, and I was happy it won the big two awards being directing, which gave it to Paul Thomas Anderson, and then Best Picture, which is Paul Thomas Anderson, and as a producer and producing partner as well, who was up there.
Mhm.
It definitely felt like it was Paul's movie with the other players, where everything for Sinners felt to Max, to your point, like it really was a sense of community that
Yeah.
it felt very more familial for every Sinners win than it did for One Battle's win. And I think
Yeah.
that's a
Well,
testament to what a great director Ryan is and what a great leader he
yeah.
is.
Yeah, his leadership, it seems like, is kind of untouchable. I will say though, like the lead up in campaigning for One Battle, like I didn't see anything, and that doesn't mean it wasn't there, because I have now made our algorithm on our Instagram very specifically leaning toward how much I love Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
So it's just feeding me him. But like, I didn't really see anything. I didn't see anything from Leo. I didn't see anything from PTA. I didn't see anything from Benicio or Chase. You did just see Teyana Taylor out there, just like being like, I fucking love this movie so much, like a lot, which was really cool of her. She was such a great like cheerleader for her own work and for this movie that she was part of, that she loved. But yeah, I think we actually saw a lot of how much the people involved with One Battle loved One Battle a couple times in the Oscar. And actually, one of the moments that was a highlight for me was their casting win. And when the
Yeah.
casting director went up there and like Chase's speech on her behalf prior to her coming up, like she saw all these people for Willow. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. She comes up, they have this like amazing embrace and they hug, and you're like, oh, like they're that type of love definitely existed on this movie too. PTA is not, he's just not the type of guy maybe to be able to extol that and step into that spotlight and talk about it and discuss it a lot, which is fine. That's
Yeah.
not his actual job. That doesn't mean it wasn't there. Doesn't mean it was there. But it feels like, there's a lot of good feelings with the people who made that film that they have with each other. So
Yeah.
I don't want to say One Battle didn't have that, but
That's a great point. And now this is the moment where I think much of what gets the Oscars in trouble is like, this is the ripple effect, which is like, Ryan Coogler did such an incredible job, as did Paul Thomas Anderson, in making two, I think, seminal movies, not just movies of the year, but both of these movies could be in contention for movies of the decade. We'll look
yeah.
back on these in many years. But Ryan's just younger than Paul. And Paul, many years ago, for Boogie Nights, for There Will Be Blood, was viewed on as like an incredible director that like maybe he was too young for this to be his time. And he was really bummed about it. And then in Paul's acceptance speech, he made all the little sly jokes of like, oh man, you Academy, they really make you
Make you
earn this.
work for us.
Yeah. And,
That was great.
which is his nod to like, he in his less Marty Supreme way, but he's been vying for this for decades, and he
Right.
finally got it. And then now you cut to Ryan, who you just hope that Ryan Coogler has. I think the assumption is that everyone in the Academy just knows what a singular talent he is, and that, God, if we're all lucky, he has movies as good as Sinners in him for the next 2, 3, 4 decades, and that he'll be standing on that stage at some point. So, then you get into this perpetual, hey, we'll pay you an Oscar in the future, don't you worry.
I think that's just one of those things that's unavoidable with the Oscars, unfortunately, because as they said, there's no such thing as a best in any given year. And especially with some years where there's so much good. PTA was talking about 1975. It was like Jaws, The Godfather 2, Dog Day Afternoon. It's just kind of like take a pick, man.
And we hope we can get back to a year like that. And you could say, who's to say, man, we could look back at this year as the best year in decades,
there is the weird sense of justice in the fact that like Sinners didn't need to win Best Picture, I think, to be one of the films in America that will never be forgotten. And One Battle is helped by the fact that it won Best Picture to be one of the films in America that will never be forgotten. So, yeah, it feels right. They make great companions. Like I was blasting our Instagram with a bunch of, photos from the night and stuff like that. And there was one of Coogler and PTA backstage after they both won their Oscar awards. And the caption was like, these two guys just won their first Oscar together on the same night. And it's like they're very different types of filmmakers. They're very different types of dudes. And there just felt something really cool about that. So cool. that made me feel really good too. Any other highlights, Dave? Any other small highlights? Moments that made you chuckle or laugh? Any other thorns, Dave?
I will give you a thorn, which was I see that Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, who are two actors that I love, came out on stage, and they're in the early press run for Avengers Doomsday, which will come out in December. And to me, I don't know why, maybe I've been staring at them for so long. I love them as actors, and their banter felt a little flat to me. It didn't
super
totally
flat.
work. Yeah. Okay, good. I didn't know if anyone else was that. It didn't totally work for me. And I'm worried that they're trying to make fetch happen again, and I don't know. That concerns me that it felt forced to me, but I think it's an interesting reflection of this year again, at a time where the Marvel machine is for better or worse kind of waning, and who knows if that stays. But all this great original content that we saw nominated today, Weapons, Sinners, One Battle, we talked about this over the last year. That was the focus this year. Original, weird storytelling, weird in a good way storytelling. And yet our two like traditional handsome leading men from the past decade tried to do their like petty repartee, and I was not loving it. So that was a bit of a thorn. What about you, Max?
I mean, as a guy who never loved it, I would have to agree with you. And I love both of those guys, and there are Marvel movies that they did that I did like, but I'm very tired of it. In a weird way, it does kind of spell doom for Doomsday. I'm
Yeah,
sure it'll be fine, but there's not a lot of enthusiasm, it seems, even from the people who are in those movies for like
right.
what the hell's coming out. But yeah, I'm gonna give a couple little tiny highlights. When Anne Hathaway came out, do you like my dress joke? I thought that was very funny. Um,
I loved, yeah.
the
I have to just double on that. Her and Anna Wintour out there promoting Devil Wears Prada, I thought was fantastic. Anne Hathaway, I thought
super
was
fun.
fantastic. She's going to be in so many movies this year, and I'm excited for all of them. But I thought that bit played so well. What else?
Yeah. Conan roasting Adrian Brody for the longest speech of all time last year. Conan saying, the man who heroically saved last year's Oscars from running short. I thought that was really funny. We were actually talking about Brody's in my group chat, his speech from last year. And one of my buddies, Andrew, said, Adrian Brody is on the Mount Rushmore of bad Oscar speeches.
Just the worst. Yeah,
I thought Jesse Buckley's win, that moment was really beautiful.
yeah,
Hamnet was about motherhood, and she's a new mother, and it's Mother's Day in the UK, and like it just really tied in that not only did she win this thing that really meant a lot to her, but it happened at a very special, unique moment for her, and we all got to share that with her. I thought that was pretty cool. K-pop Demon Hunters winning 2 Oscars, pretty
oh,
wild. Best
great.
animated film, best song. The song performance was great. Shout out to my friend Lauren Hahn, who was part of that performance.
Oh, very
It
cool.
also made me think, Dave, we talked about how Netflix popped that movie into theaters very briefly last year after a long, successful run in the summer. Do you think they did that just so they could get Best Animated Feature?
To qualify, it's definitely possible. I mean, I think Netflix, as well as all the major theatrical studios, I think motivation first and foremost was profitability, and they made a ton of money in theaters. I think there was a nice silver lining to think that it could get nominated, and now it won. So but I know for a fact, no way in their negotiations between Sony, who was making it, and Netflix, who was distributing it, where they were like, "Aha, this is our master plan."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wonder. I mean, it's almost better if nobody realized that until the nominations came out, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, man, we really crushed it with this film." I thought Jimmy Kimmel was really great. He had a lot of great things to say about the importance of documentaries and a lot of just really great jokes about his dust up with the Trump administration earlier,
Always
including
so good.
just an ice cold dagger into the side of Donald Trump by saying he's going to be so mad that his wife wasn't nominated for this category. Even though that movie came out way too late to qualify, but still, I thought that was funny. And you know what? That guy has earned any shot that he's going to take, politics
Agreed.
aside.
Agreed.
I will say I liked the Bridesmaids reunion. However, it was very long, and it was upsetting to see a lot of people get cut short in their speeches when the Bridesmaids bit got to go on for like 10 minutes.
That's true.
But during the K-pop Demon Hunters original song acceptance speech, we were about to see a really amazing moment from one of the people on that team, and they played him out, and that was kind of a bummer.
There's always an element of being unfair when the show's running around 4 hours now. It's under 4 hours, but yeah, they gave a long leash to Bridesmaids and really tight elsewhere. I will say one smaller speech that does seem to ring true for our podcast is during the surprise F1 win. Yes, the movie F1 won something, and they won for sound. Which I have to be honest, I am not a sound expert, even though we are in like a primarily audio art form. Max, you and I are doing. But one of the engineers, artists that won, the female who there was two male speakers and the female closed it out. She just said everyone should go see movies, and you should see blockbuster movies, and you should see indie movies, and you should just keep going to see movies. And man, that encouragement, that's the whole fucking point of the Oscars. That's the point of this podcast. And I'm so
Michael B.
glad.
Jordan said the same thing. He's like, one of the last person he thanked was everybody who went to go see the movie. And I was like, thank you for that. Like, it feels really good. But yeah. Another highlight from me watching the Oscars was my partner Tiana turning to me at the end of the show as they were announcing Best Picture, and she went, "Wait, What's F1?
Yes. Yes. And did you respond, don't worry, you don't have to watch it?
Oh, amazing.
Uh,
But yeah, man, overall, I think a good show. What made you feel like it was a little lackluster?
I think there was a little punching down in the show. I think the YouTube
Mm,
jokes, um, I think there was a little bit of a perspective of Hollywood from old Hollywood against younger audiences in very, very subtle ways. Like the screen joke, which I like, the vertical screen joke, which again I get and I agree. I don't think you should be watching movies on your phone. The fact that this is the Oscars are going to be on YouTube starting in 2029, Mr. Beast being the host in the future, I think there were certain elements that seemed to be anti-evolution, but maybe that's too harsh. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it wasn't that pointed, but I felt that that's where a lot of the butt of the jokes were going, where I don't think that was necessary. I think there were like plenty of young people and old people that were like excited about movies. I think to your point, Max, you and I, we've seen that like this is a year where Gen Z has actually re-embraced going to the theater, and that's a real positive thing. So I,
right.
I think moving forward, I would just hope that there is a world where they can reconcile. Yes, the older audience that does like the traditional with like, yeah, man, we're gonna have to figure out how going to movies and movie theaters is important, but also people watch shit on YouTube and Hulu and these platforms,
Including me.
yeah, I mean,
Look,
Max, you and I, we're still like last week we recorded the pre-Oscar thing, and we talked about how great it was that certain people saw Train Dreams. They mostly saw it on Netflix, and
right.
that is something that we don't want to be the only way people consume media. But I think one of our theses of that episode was that a lot of people got to see it because they got to see it on a streamer. So
Yeah, the like brain rot Conan saying Riz sketch was like kind of the most cringe of those, and he looked and he's like, a great bit for a bunch of people who aren't going to watch broadcast TV. Bro, they were making jokes like that when you and I were assistants back in 2012.
yeah,
Like, it's over 10 years ago. Like, it's time to put those jokes to bed. And I think to your point, it's, movies aren't going anywhere. And I had a buddy ask me this last night. I don't think movie theaters are going anywhere either. We're in a crisis point. We're competing with other types of entertainment. What people watch on YouTube is not feature films. It's not. What I watch on YouTube, I love the content I watch on YouTube. It's not feature films. So there's a conversation to be had, but not that like, kids, they don't know about The Godfather. Like, we don't need to we don't need to do that. Because it's not even true, for one.
And then I would also just throw out the fact that like Sean Penn winning for Best Supporting Actor, not even coming. He's just like, peace, deuces.
We should have mentioned this in the highlights, obviously, but Kieran Culkin's comment, he's not here, or maybe he didn't want to be. Like, amazing.
Yeah.
They told him that he couldn't smoke, so he didn't
show up.
But yeah.
Well, Max, it was a great 2025. We've been talking about 2025. Yeah. It was the year we started our pod, and it was great to finally get to honor them officially as they do in Hollywood with the Oscars. I know we'll probably be talking about these movies years to come, but I'm excited to look forward now into what we have coming in 2026. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of cool stuff planned. I'm going to do a little deep dive into romance films. We got Project Hail Mary coming out that might be the first big film of the year.
And as we talk about the Oscars, sometimes it takes a couple of years even for movies to really find their place in pop culture. We don't even realize which ones will really resonate in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. So you might listen to an episode coming up. Maybe we might look back a little bit further on and see what's still relevant. So excited to share that with you.
If you see something in the calendar, listeners, that you want us to talk about or explore, definitely let us know. Specific movie that's coming out. If you have thoughts on the Oscars, if you disagree with us, let us know. We're going to put up the episode on YouTube, in our Instagram comments or whatever. We would love to pick up a little bit more listener interaction this year. So we got a lot to talk about, which leaves us with just one thing left to say, Dave.
I'll see you at the movies, Max.
I'll see you at the movies, my man. Later.